I want to start off just talking about some presentation tips. So, how do you go about doing that presentation? How do you sell your ideas? And I want to thank Darren Ambrose for the help that in developing the materials that we developed a number of years ago. First thing is really preventing the puppets on a string type of thing. The idea of it's not possible to do every tip for an effective presentation, but really to develop your own style behind it. But at the same time, sort of think about how do you communicate effectively. So, how do you keep yourself relevant? How do you keep yourself compelling? How do you keep it simple? And how do you keep it memorable? And there's a lot of outside resources to help you with do this, but I'm going to talk about some of the general ideas here in terms of what we can look at. And first thing is really just body language. It's more impactful than verbal communications. And this is what studies have shown. And again, what you want to do is make sure that you're verbally and with your body language communicating your message to that audience. This is especially important in terms of a virtual presentation where you lose a lot of those nonverbal communications, but you can look at how do you position yourself on a camera and other types of things you can do in order to prevent this loss. And when we look at it, there's a number of things, and we'll talk about them a little bit in terms of relatively easy to do in person, a little bit harder to do in the virtual environment. And one of those is to being warm. So leaders who are seen as warm tend to be seen as the most effective. And again, there's a body of research that supports this. And warmth is really a conduit of influence. And prioritizing helps you connect immediately around. And I think this goes back to some of the types of things we also talked about in terms of how do you develop the start of your presentation? How do you keep that message going on? And part of that is to keep that message warm. I think an important piece is to smile. It takes 43 muscles to frown, only 7 to smile, but there's a lot of other reasons that smiling is important because it helps engage the audience, really. It's contagious. It can hide your true emotion and it can boost your confidence. So really the idea, and I talk to my teams about this all the time, about we need to smile as we go through, especially if you're in a team situation. Those people that aren't presenting at a specific time, it really helps if it looks like they're having fun also. And a smile communicates that message as they go through. When we look at this slide here, as you go through, we've got different types of smiles on different types of baseball cards. A beaming smile scores 79, a slight smile scores 75, and a no smile scores 72.9. And I always ask students, what do these numbers represent? And no one ever guesses, but they actually represent lifespan. So people with baseball players with the beaming smile on their card average 79 years of age, with a slight smile was 75, and those that didn't have a smile on their card was 72.9. The other idea here is to use your hands when you're presenting. The idea is it's a natural part of how you talk, and open arms convey openness and really not only help captivate the audience, but tend to have a little bit more impact because you can emphasize stuff not only with your hands, but with your body language, your voice. So it becomes more a positive type of impact as you go through and start presenting. When you're not presenting, the best things to do is to have your hands down in front of you. Don't cross your arms in front of your chest because it looks like you're not open to ideas. The idea is not to look like, you're not having fun. Look like you're open to ideas and look like you are presenting with your teammate in terms of there's some confidence and there's assertiveness between it. Also being open, what you don't want to do is, as I said, cross your arms right in front of your chest because it really sends negative energy. It's that closed posture. You want to keep that posture open when you're both presenting and not presenting. And again, it gives you the idea that you're open to your audience. If you're not open to the audience, will they be open to your ideas? That's something to think about as you go through. Nod, but no bobbleheads. So the idea of sending positive vibes. While you're listening, just don't stand there and stare off into space or the ceiling or the floor. It helps to demonstrate some friendliness, to keep the conversation flowing. To nod in an authentic manner when your teammate makes a good point, and it sort of captivates and hopefully engages or keeps the engagement of the audience. And again, it's an idea of creating some of those non verbal cues that are positive and make the other people, the audience members, feel accept it, support it, your speaker feeling accept it, support it, and just makes the situation a lot easier. And really, the whole idea is it comes down to be authentic. Always remember, you do you. Let your personality come through in the presentation. Provide all the insights, analysis in the world doesn't really help if you bore the audience. No one is boring. Try to find that authentic, passionate speaker in yourself that can come through and be that authentic voice as you start presenting to your audience members. And again, doing this both and thinking a lot about it in terms of in the virtual environment and in the in-person environment will help. I think the biggest one, as you see here, they're all relatively easy to do in both in person and virtually, except the potential of maybe using your hands in the virtual environment. But that can be helped through doing a proper camera setup, making sure that you've got enough space for your hands to kind of interact on the screen. It's not your face. It's not a pair of eyes peering over the bottom of the screen. And just sitting back, making sure, yeah, you know what? I look good on screen and they can see part of my body. They can see my hands. And that'll also help with the warmth and all of those other pieces as you go through and do your presentations.